Welcome to the Quick Stop F1 podcast. My name is Nyasha, and you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. We appreciate that. And welcome to Nyasha's Notebook, the show where we essentially, I say we, it's just me, breaks down the latest from the F1 sessions that we've just watched. And what we've just watched is the Hungarian Grand Prix. Where Lando Norris has taken victory over Oscar Piastri, George Russell first. And if you'd said after lap one, who is going to win the Hungarian Grand Prix, with Lando Norris slipping from third to fifth, you'd probably say Lando Norris was not favoured to win from there. So how has he managed to do it? Does Oscar Piastri have a right to be aggrieved at someone, a teammate behind him, seemingly getting on the day the better strategy? And look, for me, I think that it's marginal. It's marginal. If you watch the live stream that we did on YouTube, I think, oh my God, something mad just went in my ears. If you watch the YouTube live, I think around lap 30, I was looking at the lap times. I was looking at the tire deck. Specifically, I was looking at Alonso's tires and the mega stint that he did on the mediums. And it was quite clear that a one-stop was a viable strategy. But, and also, super key around Hungary is track position. Horrible track to overtake on. You do need a massive tyre delta. So I guess, what do you want? Track position or tyre delta? And that was the conundrum faced by Oscar Piastri and the McLaren team. Because their race really and truly wasn't only with Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc started pole. He ends up kind of building up a gap, which meant that the undercut, which they tried on the first stint, was not going to work. And if you looked at the pace of the Ferrari at the time, it felt as if Charles Leclerc was definitely going to be very difficult to pass on track. So they tried everything to try and get past Charles Leclerc. The problem is, everyone was kind of having a race with each other. The top two were having a race with each other. Russell was trying to fend off Lando, who got past Fernando Alonso after being jumped to the start. So really and truly, it left Lando Norris with absolutely nothing to lose. Very reminiscent, this race, of George Russell's disqualified win in Belgium, in that drivers who have nothing to lose choose to do an alternative strategy, a one-stop, whilst everyone else around them does too, leading them to have track position. And even though a two-stop driver will have a tyre delta, it basically renders that useless, because in the words of the great Murray Walker, it's one thing to catch and it's another thing to pass. And what happened was Lando Norris had enough in the tyres. You could see him visibly exhausted. It's not often you see a Formula One driver visibly exhausted after a race, but it's clear that Lando was having to put in quali laps, lap after lap after lap. Oscar Piastri taking the best part of 0.5 of a second a lap out of Lando Norris, but he wasn't able to get past. Last minute lunge down into turn one on lap 69, locking his brake, reminiscent of their battle in Austria, which didn't come off as well, again nearly launching into the back of his teammate. But that's kind of what happened. That's the race. And Lando Norris comes away from a summer break where he could have been 23 points behind or more. Looking at Leclerc's pace, which we'll get to, He could have been 23 points behind. He's now only 9 points behind. And I think it's very clear that Lando Norris now is definitely in this title fight. I think some people, like, guys, what are you saying? Yeah, because you're showing on camera. Say hello to my guys at the back here. Come on. Welcome to Manny. I'm from London. Welcome. I'm doing a Formula One podcast. You got the Ferrari jacket on. So you see, come on. Quick stop F1. Look it up in a couple of hours, it'll be there. They got Manchester. Sorry. So for those on audio, I just met some random people in the park. Such are the pleasures of live TV, right? Like, so. Oh yeah. Also, big up. There was a kid yesterday. I filmed a podcast yesterday, and I one of these, and a kid came up to me. He was like 11 years old, and he had a YouTube channel. I was like, "Oh, can I? Will I be on the Notebook?" I was like, "Yeah." And then I realized when I got home that my mic had cut out from running out of battery. So if you're watching this, kiddo, I'm sorry that you went on yesterday's Notebook. But I need to I'll try and find your YouTube name and I'll put it up for people to follow. Bless you. But anyway, Lando Norris is back in his title fight. He's back in this title fight. Not that he was necessarily out, but the narrative that would have been around Lando Norris, I guess it would have been a bottle job. I guess, if let's say if he'd started third and not been able to come through, people would have been asking questions. But he goes into the summer break, definitely a bit more confident, and definitely looking forward to what's shaping up to be an all-timer F1 World Championship. But it isn't, is it? There's something lacking in this world title fight. I don't know what it is. Normally, if you said to me, start of the season, two teammates would be fighting for the world championship, would get to the summer break, and there'd be single-digit gap between the two drivers, you'd be saying, "Oh, fucking bite your hand off for that." Considering the title fights that we've had since 2021, not exactly been super close with Max. Obviously, last season gave us a little bit of drama, but you'd think that this would be the one. You think that, fuck it, yeah. But there's just something, I don't know, maybe it's about how McLaren have managed it, and maybe it's the fact that the two drivers seem to get along quite well and seem to be quite courteous to one another, and there's not really any needle in there. I think the most needle we've seen, look, Lando Norris crashed into his teammate in Canada and immediately said sorry. I mean, it was his fault, but that kind of takes away any needle. Silverstone, Oscar Piastri is probably the most we've seen him pissed off. So really and truly, like, what? Oh God, sorry, my arm's getting tired. What do we need for this to feel like a bit more grandiose? Is it the stature of the drivers themselves? We're about to have a first-time world champion this year. That's exciting. We wanted someone other than Verstappen to win. Verstappen fans for years wanted someone other than Schumacher to win. And, they got their Schumacher, Hamilton to win. For years, people wanted someone other than Schumacher to win. Everyone hates when one driver dominates. So why is it now that we've not quite got that same level of excitement? And of course, within the Lando Norris fans and the Piastri fans, I guess maybe just respectfully, McLaren don't have the streets like that. They're not really there's not people who's going to be tuning in who don't watch F1, creating that kind of that, Verstappen versus Hamilton was fucking box office. This feels like support show. And maybe that's, these two drivers have to grow within the sport. And, they both have massive fan bases. And, if you go to Australia, I know they're riding hard for Oscar Piastri. And I know Lando Norris has a lot of fans. But, it doesn't feel like it's moving the needle maybe as much as it could do. But let's see. Let's see how that goes. But anyway, McLaren 1-2. That fucking they must be close to winning the constructors pretty soon. So I don't think anyone needs to worry about that. But let's see how it goes. Yeah. Ferrari, Charles Leclerc 4th, Lewis Hamilton 12th. Ferrari. I said a while ago that there are issues within Ferrari that we used to laugh about from the outside, but now we're on the inside. Jokes on us. What did we think that we were coming into? And look, Charles Leclerc today finished 36 seconds or so behind the leader. That second stint absolutely obliterated. Charles Leclerc comes out today and says that it's something to do with the chassis, something that won't happen again. George Russell has other ideas. George Russell is of the belief that he said that George Russell says that they're struggling with plank wear, and so that's why they're on a particular engine mode which makes them slow down on the straights, and that's to stop planking. For those who don't know, planking, so that F1 cars don't ride too low, as part of the regulations, they have a plank underneath the car. I think it's like a metallic plank. It used to be wood, I think. And that plank has like a certain amount of tread, in the same way you have tread in your tires, right? When you do the course of a race distance, you see the cars sparking as they hit the ground. That's the car riding close to the ground and creating friction, so it creates those sparks. You can't have your plank wear down a certain amount, otherwise you get disqualified. I think there's a race this season where both drivers from Ferrari got disqualified. I think, was that this year? Where both drivers got disqualified for plank wear issues. Well, no, one of them, was it Charles? So people got somewhere, I can't remember. But if you remember George Russell last year in Belgium, his plank wear issue. So they're of the belief that happened, and then I think George said as well that they raised the PSI in the tires. So they inflated the tire pressure and essentially put more in the tires to help raise the car. Now, you might think, is that even a big deal? Is that something that, how would the tire pressures affect the car? And I think this is what Charles Leclerc was talking about in the car when he had the radio message. Let me get it up now. Charles Leclerc's radio message. Where he said that he is essentially, he's like, why are we doing this? This is the issue we spoke about in the morning. If you let me handle it the way I wanted to handle it, we wouldn't be having these issues. It would be a miracle if we finished third. And promptly, he was passed by George Russell. And you've got to say, Ferrari, at the moment, strategy-wise, I thought today was poor. From Ferrari. I thought that they... I mean, in all honesty, would they run a race? No. I think they pitted earlier with Leclerc on the second stint. Obviously, he still, it wasn't close on Oscar's second stint. Whether he would have got past Oscar. I thought Lewis Hamilton's strategy was poor. Starting on the hard tyre, he had Sainz on a soft next to him, got jumped. Antonelli jumping him at the start as well. The DRS train basically meant that everyone was so close together. He was never really in clean air. So that would have affected his tyres. And then by the time he pitted, which was a bit early, I thought, on those hard tyres, didn't really go that much longer than Alonso on his mediums. It ended up being something that was a bit of a non-starter, really, and he ended up finishing 12th anyway. Charles Leclerc had his battle with George Russell, ended up getting a 5-second penalty for some egregious moving under braking. And yeah, so that show, Lewis Hamilton, probably his worst weekend with Ferrari this weekend. Lewis Hamilton, I can't think of a worse race weekend. Starting 12th, finishing 12th. Some of the comments Lewis has made in the media were not great. So I'm going to read you this quote. Lewis has asked pretty much what went on. You made the comments you made yesterday. Do you still stand by that? Do you still think they should change drivers? He said yes. He said there's things going on behind in the background. I feel the same regarding Ferrari should change driver. Now, what does that mean? What does Lewis Hamilton mean when he's talking about there's things going on in the background? Is he talking about personally there's things going on in the background? Lewis has always been quite open about his mental health. He's always been quite open about, he said earlier he's going to go away for summer break. There probably will be tears. This has been the most overwhelming season of his life, adjusting to a new team, adjusting to a new culture. So is that what it is? Or is it talking about the culture at Ferrari? I'm going to read you, I'll put this tweet up on screen from friend of the show, Vincenzo Landino. Vincenzo Landino essentially said, 2-time champ, 4-time champ, 7-time champ. All have come into the team and gone. What's the problem at Ferrari? Is it a culture problem at Ferrari? And I just think Lewis Hamilton, this week, there's been a lot of controversy around Lewis Hamilton coming into the team and giving them feedback on the Ferrari car. The three books, the dossier sent round to all the team. People said he was overstepping. People said he was doing too much for a driver. I just think Lewis Hamilton is not alone in saying that the culture of Ferrari or things need to change at Ferrari. Some of the ways that they do things are wrong. And I think the furor of Lewis Hamilton saying that is almost like right message, wrong messenger. And I think what I found with Ferrari fans and what I found with Ferrari, it's almost as if like we're, as Lewis Hamilton fans, we're treated as visitors. We're treated as outsiders. Who are we as outsiders to criticize this team? Who are we as outsiders to talk about the team? Lewis Hamilton's performance haven't been, where he wants him to be or where the team wants him to be. So who are we to say anything about cultures of the team? But if we, from the outside, can see that there's things wrong with the team, who've gone backwards since last season, if Lewis Hamilton, who's been embedded in that team, can see there's been issues at Ferrari, if Sebastian Vettel can see there's issues at Ferrari, Fernando Alonso can see there's issues at Ferrari, if Charles Leclerc himself says there's issues at Ferrari, then why is it an issue when Lewis Hamilton says there's issues at Ferrari? Now, could he be driving better? Most probably. But this team will never win a world championship. If you care about Charles Leclerc so much, you would give him a car capable of fighting for championships. You would give him a team which is structured to compete with the best teams. Look at McLaren. Look where they were 2 years ago compared to where they are now. Look at where Ferrari were beginning of 22, these regulations, and look where they are now. The team has the biggest budget in the sport, the most history, the most fucking accolades. But there's something wrong with the team where Lewis Hamilton looks like a broken man after 6 months. That's crazy. And again, I know people coming under this saying, your driver's washed, this, that, and the other. That's fine, whatever. You can have that opinion. I'm saying to you now, it's not normal for driver after driver after driver after driver in this team to come into the team, struggle, and leave. And I don't think that, look, I do think sometimes Lewis can be quite, I do think Lewis can be quite, how do I describe it? Very open with his emotions, right? And he can be very down on himself. And I think, sometimes you'll hear him say certain things. I don't think there's any credence that he genuinely believes Ferrari should replace him. I don't think Ferrari have any plans to replace him. But not a great weekend. Not a great weekend. And I don't really know where else to go with that, to be honest. I think everyone's happy for the summer break from Ferrari. Upgrades haven't worked. Nothing seems to be working. And I don't think anything will work. 2026, new regulations. You wouldn't bet money on Ferrari on acing those regulations, if I'm going to be honest. And if that's the case, then you could be looking at a pretty unhappy end to Lewis Hamilton's time at Ferrari. I'm not going to lie. So, yeah, I mean, 12th for Lewis, 4th for Charles. Bad day in the office for Ferrari. So I'm going to take a break at this point. If you're enjoying what you see, like and subscribe. I'll be back after this break with the rest of the grid. Righty-ho. So, let's go to Max Verstappen. Not a great race for Max. 8th place in the end. Probably provided us the most entertainment on track with all of his moves. Yuki Tsunoda in 16th. Not a great weekend for Yuki. I mean, he, after promising so much in practice, just seems to have fallen away. Obviously, in qualifying, only a 10th of Max, but then wasn't really able to come through the field in the same way Max did. Well, not that Max really came through the field that much, but he was able to make overtakes. And a lot of that's probably due to tyre delta. Interesting incident with Lewis Hamilton at turn 4. I mean, really and truly, it's an interesting one, isn't it? He kind of sticks a wheel at the inside. He's not alongside. Lewis kind of takes avoiding action. And then he goes wide. The FIA deemed it to be no penalty. Lewis Hamilton didn't even turn up to the stewards. And they sent a representative. I think when he asked them about it in the post-race interview, he just said, I can't remember. So I don't think he was that bothered. They were only fighting over much anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference to anyone. So yeah. Personally, for me, it would have been interesting if they had made contact, given the furore over cops and people sticking the wheel at the inside and how that could turn into a dangerous accident at a fast corner. I think it's interesting seeing people saying, "Oh, it's clearly no penalty," and should there be penalty for avoiding a clear accident? Potentially, I don't know, but it's a tough one. It is a tough one, but I probably agree with no penalty, to be honest. But it's just funny as well. Like they never ever have the replay ready for Max. Always fumbling around in the dark, looking for some kind of replay on Max's car. Less said about that, the better. Mercedes, George 4th, Antonelli in 5th. George 3rd, Antonelli in 15th. 13th, I think it says. I don't know if I've written that correctly. These are my qualifying notes. These are wrong notes. Right. Here we go. Right, Mercedes 3rd, Kimi Antonelli 10th. He's very clear on the radio. That battle with Charles Leclerc was dangerous, he said. Moving under braking is not permitted. I think it was right for Charles to get a penalty for that. But Kimi Antonelli getting a point after a disappointing qualifying. Well done to Kimi. Fernando Alonso, Aston Martin 5th, Lance Stroll in 7th, great points haul for Aston Martin, who have a new wing, just bought either in Belgium or today, which seems to be working. They've been on it from yesterday. They were on it. Fernando Alonso essentially created. It must be a world record for how long that DRS train was from Fernando Alonso today. Like, I just honestly, like, what is that? Like, but it made his strategy work. Pretty much a lonely race other than that from Fernando, but he managed to solidify 5th place and some good points. It's pretty much the most he was able to maximize from that. And Lance Stroll in 7th. So solid results for Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso, and they can go to the winter break happy with how their car is progressing. Sauber, Gabriel Bortoleto in. Max Verstappen actually finished 9th, guys. Sorry, I was looking at my qualifying notes. Sauber, Gabriel Bortoleto in 6th. Nico Hülkenberg came up from last place to 13th despite 5-second penalty. Gabriel Bortoleto's star rookie of the end of this F1 season for sure. I think he's improving race by race by race. And I think I was saying yesterday in my notebook, which didn't work in the end, that I mean, it's great to see rookies come into the sport, and you feel like he's going to have a future in this sport. And you'd think, being in a team like Audi, that's a good place to be for a young driver. Can he grow with that team and kind of bring that team to the front as they develop in their time with F1? Time will tell. But Gabriel Bortoleto definitely making the whole of Brazil proud, finishing just behind his manager and mentor, Fernando Alonso. And Nico Hülkenberg, 5-second penalty for start infringement. It didn't look that bad, to be honest, but what can you do? But no, still managed to finish 13th. RB, Liam Lawson again. Solid result for Liam Lawson, finishing in 8th. And Isaac Hadjar just outside the points with 11th, affected by gravel on his hands, which flew up. Gravel hitting his fingers, which obviously flew up as his fingers were exposed in the car. I think he struggled with that throughout the race. So big time for Isaac Hadjar to take a break, and I'm sure he will do, and that will get better. So well done to Liam Lawson on some more points, 8th place. And just to finish out, Williams, disappointing day. Carlos Sainz 14th, Alex Albon 15th. I don't think that's right. I don't think I was reading these results right, but nevertheless, not a great result for those guys. After a promising FP1, Alpine, Franco Colapinto got into Q2, but actually slipped back to 18th. Pierre Gasly with, I don't even know what race Pierre Gasly was running, but he dropped down all the way to 19th. And there you go, summer break. Wow. How would you describe the start to this season as a Lewis Hamilton fan? Tough. And I think if it's been tough for us, I can't even imagine how tough it's been for Lewis. And yeah. Head up, chin up. There's not really much more you can do than that, to be honest. And we'll see. But we're poised for a great title fight. Let's see what Ferrari have for us after the summer break. Let's see what this sport has for us. 10 races, I think. Is there 11 races left? 10 or 11 races left. So, yeah. I just want to see more like overtaking. I think these like regulations are not creating like the best racing at the end of the regulations, but I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens from there. But thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed watching, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you for more daily content on Quick Stop F1. Until next time, keep it on the black stuff. Take care.